Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. And this time I'm actually reviewing the 8th episodes of this season of The Flash and Arrow together. The Flash episode was called Legends of Today, and the Arrow episode was Legends of Yesterday. This is kind of a departure of how I did this last year, but given that this is all kind of really one story, and I'm honestly really busy in my personal life right now. I got a new computer, so of course when you get a new computer, there are a million things you have to do to get everything up and running just the way you want it. And also, I'm kind of downloading Fallout 4 right now, so yeah, I also have to confess that because of the whole new computer situation, when I was watching these episodes, I was a little distracted, partially because I was like, so when I was watching The Flash, I was distracted. I couldn't get my computer to connect to the internet, and it was driving me crazy. So during the commercials, I was like back on there trying to figure it out, and of course, it turned out to be something really obvious that I was overlooking. So yeah, and then Wednesday night it was like, okay, the new toy is up and running. Let's get to work. So yeah, I was really distracted during that Flash, Arrow, Agents of Shield, but I'm gonna try and not get too far behind, especially and it was really crappy that it happened on these when we were the week we were getting these episodes, because it's like, oh my god, this is like the most comic booky thing ever to come into live action, and oh man, it was glorious. So let's just start talking about the characters, and just trying to let's start with the bottom and kind of work our way up. Um, Nothing really particular to say about Laurel this episode. She only had a few lines this time around during the story. Um, let's see. Thea, nothing really particular to say about her either. Just the whole thing of like, what, we know the Flash? Did I know that we didn't know the Flash? I mean, that was pretty hilarious. And it's also kind of nice to see Diggle basically kind of puking again because of just him not being able to handle that whole moving at super speed. Um, let's see what else. Let's kind of try and clear the folks over on the Flash out first, just so that I don't forget anybody. Um, so yeah, Patty shot Earth 2 Harrison Wells. God only knows how Joe is going to explain this. And this leads to the whole situation with the Velocity 6. Now, in the comics, the drug that gives characters like Johnny Quick and the Rival and some of the others who use this ability is called Velocity 9. So odds are there's a future refined versions of this drug in the works. And I have the feeling that this is going to be one of the ways that they introduce future speedsters. Now, we get to see that Jay Garrick is able to gain his speed back temporarily, but again, as you kind of refine this, then that opens the door to new possibilities. In fact, if I remember right, um, evil Johnny Quick. There are two characters in the DC universe called Johnny Quick. One is good, and one is evil. He's basically kind of like a drug addict. He's addicted to Velocity 9 and, of course, to the super speed, which is kind of an interesting take on the character. But it was certainly nice to see Harrison Wells kind of at least sincerely thank Jay for saving his life. And frankly, it's been an overdue for us to see Jay again. And you have to wonder how just having that little taste of his power back is going to weigh on Jay's mind. It's probably something that he's probably going to really have a hard time dealing with. Nothing particular to say about Caitlin, and yeah, I think that kind of covers everybody on the Flash side of things. Minor characters over on Arrow. Well, Laurel and Thea, like I said, Diggle 2 didn't really have anything super huge going on. Well, one thing I want to say, and before I forget this, so when they're at the party at Oliver's house, did you guys notice some of the music that was playing was from The Sims? Seriously, I am dead positive I have heard that music in The Sims. I can't remember if it was Sims 3 or Sims 4. I've played a ridiculous number of hours of both. In fact, I was actually playing a game. I was actually doing a test game of Sims 4 on my new computer. I have to figure out how to transfer over my Sims characters from my Sims game on my old computer because I like those characters. I have a lot invested in them. But yeah, that was like, oh my god, I know that song from The Sims. Okay, so let's just kind of move over and start talking about characters in more depth. Um, and I guess let's start with our Flash characters. So Cisco's big thing this episode is just sort of his whole relationship with Kendra, and it's really hard to not to feel bad for Cisco. He has this really great thing going on, and of course, then Vandal Savage has to crash his date, and then he accidentally reveals Barry's identity to Kendra. And then there's this whole thing with this guy called Hawkman showing up, Carter, and I do like that he does briefly mention that yeah my real name in this incarnation is Carter Hall, blah blah blah, whatever. And that is traditionally the name that Hawkman goes by when he's a human and not an alien policeman, which yeah, in the comics he's sometimes an alien policeman. It's crazy because that's how comics are. And then the whole thing, it doesn't work out for him, and I do like those moments though where he goes on this like big rant. It's like damn it, why does it never work out for me? Like, why does it never work out with me and girls? And it is a very heartfelt thing. I mean, Cisco's had some seriously rotten luck in the department when it comes to the ladies. I mean, the most luck he's had has been somebody who's a villain. Here it looks like he's got something really great going on with Kendra, and then there's this. But however, I did like that speech that he gave her when he's talking about at first I was freaked out by these powers that I have, but now I've come to realize that they're a gift. I mean, this is a huge, huge thing, a huge leap from Cisco from where he was not that long ago. And I do like that even though things don't work out for him, apart from a little, frustrated grumbling, Cisco's pretty cool about it. Like, he understands that this is something that, a choice that Kendra has to make for herself. This is something that she really has to do for herself. And he is also the one who really kind of figures out that key. It's like, don't try to be the warrior. Try to be that priestess. Try to be the person that helps people, because that's, to me, who you are. And, that really says a lot about Cisco, that he gets that. He's very much, in a lot of ways, if you're familiar with the old Buffy the Vampire Slayer show, he's in a way Xander. He's the one who sees, and just imagine that in Nathan Fillion's creepy-ass southern drawl. But, yeah, that was definitely a nice one for a Cisco there. Now, since I've been talking about it, let's talk about Kendra. I'm going to count her as a Flash character for the purposes of this. Well, again, she gets all of this craziness dumped on her, and she acts really pretty much how I remember her reacting in the comics. She's really freaked out by it, but over time she does eventually come to embrace it, and it is a really, really cool journey. And I definitely liked her reaction to Carter Hall, with his like, oh wait, you're saying that we're supposed to be lovers or something? Like, get away from me, you nut job. And I mean, that was exactly the reaction she had in the comics when he first showed up and started telling her this. Now, eventually, yes, she realized that, oh yeah, I'm actually am in love with this guy. But it was a journey. It took time for that to happen. So when it did happen, naturally under the worst circumstances possible, it felt real. And I definitely did like how they actualized her by the end of the episode with Arrow, where her showing that yeah, she's still got things to learn, but she has the strength to do this. I mean, the lady jumped off a damn building of her own free will. Kendra Saunders is not a weak-willed person. Let's see. What else? Well, I guess we have to talk about Barry, of course. Now, in terms of character-wise, he was a little... Oh yeah, Damien Darhk. We got to briefly mention Damien Darhk. So yeah, so this is the second time that Barry has saved Oliver when he's been guest starring. Last time was from Captain Boomerang. And I love how Damien Darhk is just like, oh man, what happened? That was so cool. Did you guys see that? That was great. Once again, Oliver's like, Oliver, that's like the third time Damien Darhk has almost killed you. You really, really suck at fighting this guy. Of course, it also highlights just why they can't call Barry in to solve their problems, because you know Barry could have just run up behind Damien Dark and punched him in the head 50 times, and that kind of would have been the end of it. Well, they'd at least put him out of action for a while, but whatever. But anyway, back to Barry. His main thing this episode really was, to me, that whole freaking out over the whole time travel thing. He's learned the hard way why you don't screw with history. But as it was put to him by Oliver in the new timeline, well, how much worse could things get? So you have to wonder, is there still some sort of a shoe waiting to drop from this? Is Zoom going to notice this? And what's going to happen when he kind of lays this on Harrison Wells back at Star Labs? And also, it's kind of cool that they mentioned Keystone City again. That's pretty sweet. But yeah, also some stuff with nice moments with Barry and Felicity, showing that Barry is really a terrible liar. But yeah, oh, and of course this time instead of Harrison Wells or Reverse Flash, it was Oliver who gave him that whole "Run, Barry, run" line, and I really love how they had that moment with like, hey, you're the one that called me a guardian angel in the first place, and they're like, dude, I'm the Flash. If I want to hug you, I can do it, and you won't notice. So let's bro hug, man. I mean, I really do like how Oliver and Barry are when they're together. Especially that crack about like, man, I can still feel where you shot me with those arrows when it rained. Oh, and speaking of Barry, he's actually had some experience with magic, because that whole thing, the Vixen animated thing, does take place prior to this. So I was really kind of wondering how they were going to handle that situation. And they handled that conversation between Barry and Cisco was also a part of that story. He's the one that gave Vixen her name, same way he gives Kendra Hawkgirl the name Hawkgirl, coins the term nth metal. How fucking cool is that? Okay, sorry about that. That kind of slipped out. I try not to swear on these, just out of propriety, but yeah. So yeah, they handled that, I think, reasonably well. Let me see. I think that covers everything. Oh yeah, how I did like how they also established that Vandal Savage and Hawkman do have what it takes to hurt Barry. That was pretty cool. I mean, like, Hawkman frickin' grabbed the Flash and carried him up into the air. Oh, that was cool. Now, Carter Hall, Hawkman as a character, I don't really have a huge amount to say of him. It was just a perfectly competent depiction of the character in the comics. I mean, that's accurate. That's a nice take on him. Not quite feeling the actor just yet. I don't know what it's about the guy. He's for me, he's just somehow missing the mark a little bit. Let's see. Well, I guess let's talk about the bad guys before we move on to Oliver, Felicity, and some other things. So Vandal Savage. Now here they've taken some liberties with him. They've actually kind of combined him with the character of Hath Seth, who's the one responsible for all these over and over again deaths of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. And I really liked how DC actually found a really clever way to do it. I think it was Jeff Johns sort of said like all these heroic men and women who were partners in the past were previous incarnations of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. I remember there was some Old West characters that they had like that. There were some medieval characters who they kind of coined into being like that. Cool there. So you sort of think that maybe in retrospect those characters also existed. Like the only one I could remember is was it Miss Cinnamon or something, like some Old West lady, or Madame 44. I don't know. I can't remember that one. It's been a long time since I read that story. But yeah. They have kind of combined these two characters, but then Vandal Savage's original story is that he was like a caveman who gained like intelligence and immortality because he was exposed to a crazy meteor. Here they've just sort of taken the meteor thing, and that's the way they're introduced nth metal. And I think it's a little unclear as to whether or not Vandal Savage was immortal before that happened. I kind of get the feeling that that was when he too gained immortality. Because Carter Hall did say, like, yeah, he's killed us 210 times since the time of ancient Egypt. So I think they could have been a little more clear on that. But in any case, I think it was well done. And this fellow they have playing him, a Danish actor by the name of Casper Crump. It took me a little while to get used to his voice, but other than that, I have to say this seems like a pretty darn solid take on Vandal Savage. They did sort of change one important detail. They said here on the show that he had been an advisor to Julius Caesar, that he'd been an advisor to Genghis Khan. In the comics, Vandal Savage flat out says, "I was Julius Caesar. I was Genghis Khan." Which you're like, yeah, you're pretty sure you look like a white dude, so I really am very skeptical that you were Genghis Khan. But again, this I think frankly makes a lot more sense. That always kind of struck me as being stretching credibility a little too far, which when you're stretching credibility a little too far in comics, that really says something. So let's see. One thing I do like that they sort of acknowledged on the show that the superheroes hanging out on the farm seemed oddly reminiscent of Age of Ultron. That was nice. But anyway, so Oliver and Felicity. Now, of course, there's the whole thing with Oliver finding out, like, oh yeah, that's actually my kid. Now, it's not Connor Hawke, but they've said Legends of Tomorrow, we're gonna get Connor Hawke. Okay, it's not gonna be Oliver's son. It's gonna be somebody else, but it's going to be based properly on the character from the comics, apart from him not being Oliver's son. And you know what? I'm fine with that, just because of the way things work with child actors and all of that. So like, okay, let's just have Connor Hawke be somebody different. So once again, Oliver proves that he doesn't understand that keeping secrets from his friends, especially his girlfriend, is a really terrible idea. Now, I'm not entirely unsympathetic to Oliver's situation, or even Samantha Clayton, that's the mother of his son's name. Now, she makes a pretty good valid, like, Oliver, you live a really crazy life. I don't want that sort of nuttiness near my son. And given that Oliver is running for mayor of Star City, and the previous mayors have all either been murdered or had someone attempt to kill them, it's pretty understandable why she doesn't want that sort of craziness near her son. And she sort of throws Oliver's past back in his face, and he rightfully says, like, hey, I'm not like that anymore. Now, granted, she doesn't have any first-hand experience with that, but still, that was kind of a low blow. Now, the problem here is that she's like, Oliver, these are my conditions for, you having any sort of a relationship with our son. And I'm a little disappointed that Oliver didn't say, like, look, I won't tell anybody about what's going on with her son, but I need to be honest with my girlfriend about this. She means a lot to me. And, never mind the fact that as the boy's biological father, I could totally sue you for visitation and possibly even custody. Now, granted, that would be a really crap way to introduce your son. It's like, oh, hey there, kid, I'm your dad. By the way, I'm suing your mother. Yeah, I mean, that's doubtlessly the reason why Oliver didn't even try that. That would be a really, really terrible idea, which would just really further seriously alienate Samantha from him. She wouldn't even want to give the guy a chance. I mean, yeah, he could do it, but bad idea. Plus, it's like, oh yeah, the guy that's running for mayor, he knocked up a girl back in the day, and his mom tried to pay him off. So yeah, Oliver's right to try and handle this on the personal level, but really, I think Samantha is being very unreasonable that he can't say look, there's one person that I need to be honest with about this. Or failing that, why not say to Felicity, like, look, I know that you want to know what's going on here, and I want to tell you, but I can't. I specifically promised another person that this situation is not something I can talk about with anyone. There is no one in the world that I would love to explain this whole situation to more than you, but I can't. I've promised someone who for important reasons that I will not tell you this, and I'm really sorry about this. I think if he had been honest with Felicity like that, she'd have been unhappy about it, but she'd have understood. I think she would have understood. And oh yeah, Malcolm Merlyn wants to bring Vandal Savage back so Vandal Savage can owe him a favor. And I had to kind of laugh when Malcolm was like, if Vandal Savage kills Thea, I'm totally going to kill you. Look, Vandal Savage kills Thea or hurts her, Oliver is probably going to be too dead for you to do anything. And Oliver's already shown that, the League of Assassins coming after him, that's something he can frickin' handle. And oh yeah, he did beat you in a fight before. So yeah, I sort of like, dude, Oliver has no reason to be afraid of you. Never mind the fact that Nyssa would totally back Oliver just out of the chance to kill your sorry butt too. So yeah, screw off, Malcolm. And I absolutely love Sisko's reaction to Malcolm. It was like, who's this guy? How did he do that? And then there's the whole, we got to talk about the whole time travel thing. Like, okay, something really disastrous happens, a whole bunch of the heroes die, there's time travel, and they erase that. I mean, that's one of the all-time great tricks of comics. But to actually see that live action, like Oliver getting killed, the whole city being annihilated, all the people at the farm killed, and it's like, I mean, it's like one of the oldest chestnuts in the comic book, but oh man, seeing that live action was glorious. And that is a great way to sort of look at just these two episodes. It's like, as I said, this is like the most comic booky thing that has ever been put to live action, and it worked. It worked really, really well. I mean, oh man, how crazy was all of this, folks? I don't really think I have any more to say, and I've been talking for more than 20 minutes, so I don't want to go on forever, but yeah, man, this was great stuff. What a note to go out on, folks. So, with that said, I'm going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Till next time, take care and have a good one.